1340 KVGC on the phone with me, Douglas Viviani. He is one half of the dynamic duo, the hosting team of Everything Old is New Again. Douglas, man, that was a pretty good introduction. The dynamic duo, huh? You and David Cohen. So.
That's great. I already have my sign-off ready. Same bad time, same bad channel.
I was watching a rerun of Pawn Stars. Have you ever seen that show where people? Okay. Someone brought in one of the bat phones that sat on Bruce Wayne's desk. Remember sat under the glass, and Alfred would lift the glass, and they would.
Yes, I think it was like a red, right?
Yeah, a red. Yeah, the red bat phone. And the guy was going, I'm not going to take anything under, $500 for this. And he walked out. I think it was $150 or $200 with it. But would you buy the bat phone if you had a chance?
For $150 for sure. But there has to be some documentation somehow that that's actually the phone. But that's a kick. I have a couple of props here and there from Star Trek, and but not originally. They're just like remakes. If that was like one that was used on the set and all that, I don't know. It's a kind of a kick. I would use that for for my regular phone. It'd be kind of fun.
What I'm looking for, and I go on eBay every once in a while, and I hunt around here. About once every 3 to 6 months or so, I'm looking for a Beatles ticket. Okay, especially like to Shea Stadium. There was a number of tickets that were not used for Shea Stadium, so they still have. I think there's like 2,400 of them out there. And
unused, you mean? Wow.
Unused, and they're not that expensive. I mean, they're coming in at $300, $400, $500, mounted, and so they're not that. But I'm just kind of a cheapskate, and I'm looking for one a little bit cheaper. But that's my memorabilia. I want a Beatles concert ticket.
I always wanted to get like Beatles autographs, but those are huge. They're over the top, thousands and thousands. And on top of that, they even have a business now to authenticate the autographs of anyone, but the Beatles in particular. And so it costs you like $300-400 just to get the authentication that was or was not their signature. Imagine that having that as a profession, learning signatures of stars and the way they sign things and what time in their career they signed them. Is this real or not? I don't know. This paraphernalia that people want to grab a hold onto is so interesting. It's only worth what someone's going to buy. I mean, 50 years from now, the Beatles tickets may be a couple $100, or maybe like $3 or $4. How many people are? What's the longevity of the star that you're talking about? I have a Babe Ruth baseball signed by Babe Ruth. My grandfather got back in the 1930s. But there's so many baseballs signed by Babe Ruth and everybody kept them because everyone knew that he was, a valuable signature. The autograph's not worth as much as you think.
The only thing that I bought like that was I bought it for JD for Christmas one year, and it's. Do you remember Thundercats?
Yes, I do.
Lionel? Okay, well, JD was a big Thundercat fan. That was his era. So I bought him a Lionel, and it was still in the card, it was still in the pack, and they had a little plastic box around it, so it was, and that cost me like $250. Now, was it worth it? I don't know. To him, it was worth it because he lost his original one. It's a long story. I was able to replace that for him. Where is it now? In a closet somewhere, probably forgotten, but what the hell? It made me feel good. So,
what it
Merry
is?
Christmas.
Also, what's the value to the individual? If you're going to get these things, if it has a personal value, that's the importance. You're probably not reselling it for a profit anyway. Your descendants may, but you're not going to.
Yeah.
You get that because you love and want a piece of the pie. I remember going to school in the 60s. They had lunch boxes, and I never had the Star Trek or the Lost in Space lunchbox. So later in life, my 30s, started making a couple of dollars. What did I do? I went on eBay and I bought a lunchbox collection, which included those two. So I've got them displayed. I'm never going to sell them. What's the thing? It's a matter of what they're of value to you. I finally got that lunchbox. I don't know.
Here's one for you. So I bought an autographed picture of Steve Young, the 49ers quarterback, a couple of years ago at a charity auction. It was a silent auction. It was $125. Okay, it's hangs in my office there. And anyway, long story short, a friend of mine actually knows Steve Young very well, very close. And was in my office one day, and he goes, "Hey, where'd you get that?" And I told it, and he says, "Hey, if you want anything else signed by Steve, let me know. I'm going to see him in a couple of weeks. I'll just bring him. He'll sign it for you." And I'm thinking, geez, I spent $125, and if I would have known that Woody knows Steve Young, I would have given him the stuff and had him sign it for free.
All those vast connections you ignore.
So what's going on in the Viviani household? Is it the holiday season there?
It is. We've set up the lights, which is a whole project. We've set up the tree, and I've got the stockings hung with care. And I thought everything was done. You spend a Sunday doing all that, and the kids are under your feet, and you're trying to get it done, and with a smile, which is not easy because there's a lot of work to this stuff. And then, lo and behold, someone comes up with the idea to get an elf on the shelf, because that will be the next tradition or something. I don't know. Have you heard of this thing, the elf? It's kind of new.
Yeah, I've seen him before, and I've only seen it within the last couple of years. I've seen a lot of it posted on Facebook and little funny things here and there.
It's taken off. If you don't know, it's basically this little elf that arrives at your house, and every night will go back to Santa and report back whether the kids are good or not, and then the next day arrives back in a different spot in the house. So it's the gift that keeps on giving, because someone has to find that elf every night.
He goes back to Santa Claus. Don't worry.
What's that?
He goes back to Santa Claus.
He goes back, and every day in the morning, before the kids are awake, somehow, some way, I've got to find that elf in a different location, and the creativity that everybody puts forth on this thing. These elves are very creative, where they end up the next day. They could be eating cereal. They could be in the bathroom brushing their teeth. They could be hanging off a chandelier, in with the dolls, and all of this. So it's a lot of fun, but Angelica comes back from school, my 6-year-old, and she's revealing these elf stories of where these other elves are found. And there's a little bit of a challenge. Our elf isn't as creative as these other elves are. So now I've got another daily project to ensure that our elf has become creative. I've got to teach that elf a little more things of where to get involved and where to hide in the house.
Did you happen to watch this week's Goldbergs with
I did, with the
Super Hanukkah celebration? I don't have any Jewish friends that I know of that celebrate an 8-day Hanukkah type celebration. So watching that, it was hilarious to me. It was totally.
It was so creative, so well done. I mean, that show is on top of its game, I think, and everyone can relate to it one way or the other. And it's always interesting to see when whatever holiday you're celebrating. What about those who don't celebrate that holiday? What are they doing during that time frame? And inevitably, that ended up just like the movie Christmas Story, where the Chinese places are open on Christmas Day, and that seems to be where every Jewish person ends up. That's what they say. Or someone that has had their dog eat the
turkey.
The Christmas dinner, right?
Well,
anyway, I'm a little under the weather here because I've been up late trying to find that elf. So if anybody has any ideas as to how to make this elf a little more creative, I know I've seen pictures online, but it's yet another project for the season. But it's okay. It's a lot of fun.
I'm going to jump ahead real quick, and then we can jump back. But I was looking over the synopsis or whatever for this week's show, and I'm taken aback, Douglas. Tomorrow is the chairman of the board's 100th anniversary, and you pay no homage to Francis Albert on your show.
You're absolutely right. I know that we will be celebrating his 110th. That's for sure. That was my goal. I don't want to. I can't use up every topic every week. So actually, that one, believe it or not, slipped by me. I don't know how. I didn't have his birthday listed in my calendar. Have you seen Did you see the concert they had last week?
Yes.
I thought it was well done. So I was surprised.
Very well done. Very well done.
Modern, young artists doing Sinatra songs from the 60s and 70s and 50s, and most of them held up pretty good.
I always have liked, I'll start, Harry Connick Jr., Michael Bublé. I've always liked guys that do standards like that bring that back. And I really enjoy that. I enjoy that kind of music. And in fact, when you guys come out here on the West Coast, you'll see in my office, I've got this pretty large. I bought it in Vegas one year. I won $1,000 in a slot machine. $20 on the 19th pull. Boom! I hit $1,000. So I was looking at this. It's a memorabilia thing. It's the Rat Pack. It's all their pictures, their autographs. It's got all the gambling chips from the Sands and the Flamingo and all that. It's in a choice spot right in my office.
I love that. I actually, myself, we talk about autographs. I was an autograph collector back in the day when I had the time, and I'd go to different yard sales or I'd go to different, estate sales. Back in the day, there were people who would walk around with autographed books. They were almost like a book of which is a 3x5 kind of.
Like a little diary type book.
Exactly. It was huge back then, and I have dug up all of those autographs. I have Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop, the Rat Pack, and I've got them on my wall. So I'm just as big a fan as you are, so I'm disappointed that I didn't get a chance to celebrate that. But maybe what we'll do is I'll keep an eye on Dean Martin or Sammy Davis Jr. next birthday, and we'll use that as an excuse to celebrate Sinatra and the Rat Pack.
So back to Christmas and the elf, and that's a tradition now. So that's going to be a new tradition in your family, the elf.
Unless the elf conveniently gets lost in the shuffle, when we pack everything away. Yes, that's going to be.
I'd say one of my traditions that my mother, who's passed away, she's been gone now about 10 years, and she used to make, and I love it, fruitcake. And I don't have fruitcake anymore. Nobody makes this fruitcake you buy in a store is not right. Everybody maligns fruitcake and says it's bad and it's this and it lasts forever. And I use it for a doorstop or build a house out of bricks with. I love it. I love fruitcake. Do you like fruit? Do you like it?
I have to tell you, I have only had fresh made fruitcake once when I was a kid, and since then it's been, if at all, that pre-made one that, as you say, they use some kind of preservative or whatever's going on there, and it's hard as a rock. But when I had the original freshly made one back in the day, and it could be my perception because I was a kid at the time, I absolutely loved it. It was almost like candy.
Yes, exactly.
That make sense?
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? You can only find this. I don't know if you can find it in your town year round, but we can only get it here at Christmas time. Is spumoni ice cream.
Huh.
I don't know why. It's not a holiday thing, but you can only get it in California around Christmas time, and it's not the real. It's kind of almost like a Neapolitan type spumoni. It's not. When I was a kid, it used to be like kind of like an eggnog. It was sort of a white, like vanilla or sort of, you know what I mean, kind of a yellowish sort of with all the stuff in it, and I miss
like
that
whipped
too.
cream consistency, something like that.
Yeah, I like it. But anyway, hey, Joe Viviani, is he going to be on the show from now on? Is he going to be a regular, or? He
is just our correspondent or our expert, if you will, as a kid's perspective growing up in the 60s. I shouldn't say just. He's going to do that again this week. And I think, did a nice job last week, so hopefully he does the same thing this week. And in the future, when we need perspective of someone that was there in the 60s and had his hand on the pulse of pop culture, because when he was growing up in the 60s, he was basically 7 to 17, thereabouts in that decade. So, I don't know, did you think he said man a lot? And I know that's a perspective that everybody thinks that someone from the 60s is always going to say man, and he came forward with that. But other than that, he has some nice perspective, I think, on some of these things.
Man, he was okay. He was great. He was great. It was right on. He was good.
And he's going to continue. We're going to go through. We're going to talk about Little Man on the Moon walking and Woodstock and the movies, the influence of that, and possibly we'll get into some detail on some movies which could be fun. I don't know. If you look back at the '60s, what movies come to mind? To me, the Birds and Hustler and even Psycho and The Graduate. But to me, the movie of movies for me and for that decade were Planet of the Apes. We did a whole show on that way back when. And we may revisit that a little bit, but we're going to go through that. Do you have any? Everybody has different movies in different decades that they find close to the heart, and that's what we do on Everything Old Is New. Again, is take a look at what's around back in the day, and see how popular it is today, and where it came from, and I don't know. Do you have any
counselor? You. I mean, twice now. You've twice today.
I've upset you.
You forget about. Francis' birthday, and now the movie, the number one movie, Easy Rider. Come on.
There you go.
Easy Rider. That is my movie. You wanted to find that Easy Rider for me.
Dennis Hopper. Do you know that Dennis Hopper directed that movie, by the way?
Yeah.
I didn't. I never knew that. It was on a couple of days ago. I watched it again. Of course, Jack Nicholson's in that, right? Peter Fonda.
Yep. It doesn't hold. I mean, honestly, it was a big influence on me. It doesn't hold up. I'd rather watch an episode of I Love Lucy. You know what I mean? It just does. I mean, it was a time. It's a good time capsule of that time.
Right. That's a snapshot of growing up and these characters out and the beginnings of that motorcycle era and freedom that represented to go anywhere. That you don't need a lot of money to do that, to travel.
The only motorcycle I've ever owned is a Honda 90. But man, when I was riding that Honda 90, I was Peter Fonda.
Everybody was, right? You had the leather jacket and a little something on the back, some kind of emblem or something.
Flag, American flag, and so sunglasses. Yeah, that was it. So,
just the freedom. I think it represented in some way. It goes back to like the Cowboys. The Cowboys had the horses and go anywhere they wanted and all that. So that was a lot of fun. There was a cameo in there, a little bit of a bit part of somebody that was in Star Trek that played Charlie X, if you remember the episode way back when. So we're going to do a show on that movie itself. Is probably the reason why I left that out.
There we go.
There we go. Down the line.
Douglas Viviani, David Cohn. It is Everything Old is New again. Great show every Saturday and Sunday, 6 o'clock here on 1340 KVGC. Sorry, I didn't burp. I don't know what the heck was going on there. Anyway, that's kind of the flagship of our Saturday and Sunday evenings. We come off with that, and then boom, then we go from there. So
that's great to hear.
Anyway, Douglas, have a great week, and we'll talk the 18th, I guess, and then let's take the 25th off. What do you say? Should we do that?
We'll do the 25th off, and possibly the week after that, I think, is New Year's Day.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Right. So we'll come back.
We'll always be back for the same time, batch.
There you go. Douglas, thanks.